when play callers change in the National Football League, you hear about it. It gets announced, it gets leaked, it gets talked about, it gets broken up and broken down and all that stuff. And then you're wondering about a rift on the coaching staff or what's going on. There's a coach on the hot seat because they have now made a change. I mean, Kevin Stefanski no longer calling the plays, and Cleveland's a perfect example. We heard about it coming in. Tommy Rees is the new guy. Is it because Stefanski's feeling the pressure, despite him being a two-time coach of the year, blah, 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 blah. And then lo and behold, who comes and starts calling the plays for the Detroit Lions yesterday? But Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I didn't even, again, I wasn't familiar with your game.
But Dan Campbell.
I didn't know you could do that.
And, you know, so much made out of, you know, Johnny Morton taking over for Ben Johnson, and then they kicked Ben Johnson's behind in week 2 and put up 50 points, and everyone's talking about how it's a new world, and I was talking about how Dan Campbell, if it all works out for him, that's Coach of the Year material, because the Eagles once changed coordinators and fell off the cliff, and the Lions had won, you know, went 0-1 and then won 4 in a row. Then last week, the Detroit Lions coming off a bye, and they got beat by Minnesota. And did anybody know that Dan Campbell was going to take the play calling? That Dan Campbell was going to be the new play caller? And then you take a look at his sheet there, man. And I saw this and I thought to myself, is it this large because, you know, because he also was wearing his glasses at some point too.
Sure.
And like, does he need the font bigger like all of us do as we advance in age? Or is it required in the National Football League that you need a play sheet in proportion to your size, your own size? Because if it was a regular play sheet, it would look like a postage stamp in this man's man hands.
Right. So Mike McDaniel has the smallest play sheet in the league. And
I don't know.
biggest.
It's just like if you're Dan Campbell's size, you need a play sheet a similar size. And all they did in Detroit was put it on the Washington Commanders and lay it on thick on the Washington Commanders and come up with their 44-22 win with a season high in total yards 546, rush yards 226, first downs 30. I mean, he took over the play calling and nobody really even knew about it. And this is what he had to say as to why after the game.
You know, it was just, let's try something a little different, right? You know, and look, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to do it. Now, that being said, this is a collaborative effort now. I mean, I was taking input from John Morton that whole time and the other coaches. But I just wanted to change it up a little bit. You know, let's just see if you know, maybe a different play caller can maybe get us a little rhythm. That's all. And it honestly is nothing more than that.
Yeah, and it makes sense for him to basically say, move on, there's nothing to see here. Now, you could also say it helps to have taken on a Washington Commanders team that's falling apart, that came into the game with 3 straight losses of 21 or more points being the difference maker, and they have lost 4 such games in a row, which is the longest such losing streak since the 2002 Cardinals lost 4 straight games within a single season of 21 or more points. And you can't argue with the results either. Number 0 in your program. Holy crap. Jahmyr Gibbs had another massive game, but this one in particular. 15 carries, 142 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown in his 3 catches for 30 yards. Second career game with 150 or more scrimmage yards and 3 or more touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor is the only player with multiple such games in the last 2 seasons. And then in terms of why you want to keep going with what had been previously laid out in Dan Campbell's vision, as he was just alluding to there, guys, most touchdowns prior to turning 24. We have a list for you now. Jahmyr Gibbs has 41 touchdowns. In terms of prior to age 24, this is 5th most all-time. He's 1 behind Jim Brown, 2 behind Emmett, 3 behind Randy Moss, and 6 behind Barry Sanders. And he's less than 24 the rest of this year. He doesn't turn 24 till next March 20th. There'll be a new league year
Yeah.
before there's a new actual age year for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Feels like he might get to 50.
Dude, the way he's scoring right now, and certainly with the way, wait for it, Dan Campbell is dialing up the plays. And this is why it takes, listen, this just in. There's no question about church bells and Dan Campbell, right? This has been established. But what a risk. What a risk. Oh, yeah, we're just going to change the play callers in the middle of the campaign at 5-3, okay? We're going to change the play calling, and what if it didn't work out? What now? Now you go back to the other play caller? I just wanted to try it. Didn't work out. Let's go back to the other guy, and it'll be like, oh, okay. So choice B is now choice A again because you thought you were choice A, and you wound up being choice C?
Wow.
I mean, that is significant. And I'll say this, man. If the Lions continue to do what I think they're going to do, because I chose them to win the NFC going into the season, and I know the coach of the year is usually chosen out of the surprise candidates, like, say, Shane Steichen for the 8-2 Colts or Vrabel for the 8-2 Patriots, to make a move like this and say, I'm taking over the play calling, and by the way, I'm going to keep it quiet, and then I'm not only keep it quiet coming in, I'm going to tamp it down leaving it. And their next game is against the Eagles and Vic Fangio. It's going to be DC versus VF in a massive Sunday night game in Week 11. Massive. So Campbell's going to be the play caller and the dice roller and the leader. That's a hell of a lot. He's now doing what Sean Payton's doing. Name me another. Andy Reid. He's like, I'm doing it.
Kyle Shanahan.
Name it. That's what instead, everyone thinks Dan Campbell's just being there as the leader, emotional leader, and you follow me to run through a brick wall, and then I'll just make some sort of crazy-ass move on 4th down and roll the dice, and it'll work out. He's now calling the plays. What a move. Out of nowhere. Wow. And that is big because the NFC is as deep end of a pool as you can possibly get. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.